Good morning and welcome to Farm Factor. I'm your host, Jamie Bloom. Today, Kyle Bauer visits with Nick Rule about the history of the Fendt Tractor and how it markets itself today. Next up, Greg Akagi brings us the Kansas soybean update. Then Duane Toews talks with Frank Harper about his central Kansas operation. He talks about his farm's crop and cattle operation and what issues this year brought to the region. We'll also learn what's going on around the state with the Kansas Farm Bureau update. And to wrap up, it's Plain Talk with Kyle and Duane. It's all coming up on Farm Factor. Stay tuned.
Closed captioning brought to you by Ag Promo Source. Together we grow. Learn more at agpromosource.com. Watch Ag AM in Kansas online at agamandkansas.com.
Kansas Farm Bureau has served farm families and rural Kansas for more than 100 years, and we're pleased to offer new healthcare coverage choices for Kansans in 2020 through Kansas Farm Bureau health plans. No matter what stage of life you're in, we'll have options that fit your lifestyle. Plus, our network of providers is one of the largest available throughout the state of Kansas and beyond. For more information, including the different plans available, or to get a quote, visit kfbhealthplans.com.
Okay, looks like it's time for our tour. Welcome to the Fort Wallace Museum. Here at the museum, you're going to find some really interesting stuff like our replica stagecoach from the Butterfield Overland Dispatch. We've got facades from the fort buildings. We've got an 1870s flag. There's a plesiosaur that was discovered locally. We've got the Ray pump organ collection. We're a little bitty place with a great big story, and we'd love to have you.
This segment brought to you by Kansas Farm Bureau, the voice of agriculture. To join today or for more information, go to kfb.org or find us on Facebook and Twitter.
Welcome to Farm Factor. Up first, Kyle Bauer is with Nick Rule with Schmidt & Sons in Winfield to talk about Fendt Tractors.
Hi, this is Kyle Bauer. I get an opportunity to visit with Nick Rule. He is with Schmidt & Sons at their Winfield location. He just finished a presentation on the Fendt Tractor. Nick, I need some clarification. AGCO owns Fendt Tractors, but the Fendt Tractor has been around for a very long time.
Yes, the Fendt Tractor was designed and built in 1930. Xavier Fendt is the one who started the Fendt Tractor Company. So from 1930 to currently, it's been produced. AGCO bought Fendt in 1997, so it's been under that AGCO umbrella for over 20 years now.
But recently, we've heard a lot about Fendt in the Kansas market. That isn't by just happenstance.
No, back in 2015, Fendt introduced the 1000 series, and it was the first tractor that Fendt produced that was row crop capable. Before that, you would see Fendt up in the northeast part of the United States, someplace that you could use single wide tires. But here in the Midwest, we need that row crop capability. So in 2015, they introduced the 1000 series, and with that came the row crop capabilities. Currently, they're bringing out the 900 series, Gen 6, which is also row crop capable, which is going to be a 300 horsepower range tractor, which is also going to be quite popular here in the Midwest.
Let's just go through the tractor from, I'll say, front to back. The engine coming from Europe is, I would imagine, very economical to run.
Yes, the Fendt tractors, the 900 series and the 1000 series, use the main engine. In the 1000 series, it's 12.4 liter. The great thing about these large V6 diesel engines is they are designed to run at low RPMs for that peak horsepower. So your operating range for your engine RPMs is going to be 1,000 to 1,500 RPMs to get that power you need to pull your equipment.
Then you've got the variable speed transmission. It's a concept that's been around for a while, but truly Fendt has had it for a long time.
Yeah, back in 1995, Fendt introduced the CVT transmission, and they've patented it where nobody else can really infringe upon what they've designed. So there's nothing else like it on the market. I know some of our competitors have tried, but when we get into the higher horsepowers, those aren't holding up as well as what they thought, so they're being taken out.
To maintain that variable speed, though, there's a lot of things that the tractor can adjust for besides just RPMs.
Correct. The tractor is very intelligent. So with it, it's going to find the best fuel economy at the horsepower and the range you need to, the speed you need to go. So with this tractor, can set your speed limit you want to go, and the tractor's going to find that most economical RPM to run at.
But it also can include traction changes as well.
Yes, the independent front linkage in our Fendt tractors has a great range of motion, which will keep the tires on the ground where you're going to have the least amount of compaction and able to run the most efficient.
You know, I have a friend that is in the tire business, and he's been frustrated his entire career with farmers adjusting their tire pressure. You've taken care of that.
Correct. The Fendt also has a option where you can go with Vario Grip, which from the cab you can lower or increase your tire pressure with the push of the button.
And if you're running down the road, it would be different than when you're running in the field, and maybe even different places of the field.
Correct. You get up into the northern part of the country, and you're going to see a lot of guys pulling trailers with these. So at road speed, you want a little different air pressure than when you're running in the field. You run in the field, you kind of want to lower that air pressure so that you can get the most economical benefits to where you're not compacting your soils.
Thanks, Kyle. Folks, come back after these messages for this week's Kansas Soybean Update.
Kim Mannering with Hardy Insurance. Today we will talk about umbrella coverage. Did you know that if you're held liable in any type of accident, the judgment can claim your assets? Please give me a call so we can discuss. 316-945-6733.
Practical, profitable genetics. It's not just a slogan, but our expectation for every Dale Banks bull we market. They won't be a one-trait wonder, but they will offer optimum levels of the most predictable genetics in the industry today. They'll be developed on forage, backed by decades of data, fertility tested, foot scored, and freeze branded. We'll sell 150 yearling and coming 2-year-old bulls in our Practical, Profitable Genetics bull sale on Saturday, November 23rd at the ranch near Eureka, Kansas. For information, call the Perriers at 620-583-4305 or dalebanks.com.
About 6 jumps later, I was laying on the ground and thinking, boy, my shoulder sure hurt. I kept waiting, and it didn't get better and didn't get better. I'd heard about Kansas Regenerative Medicine Center on the radio. Got down there at 8 o'clock in the morning, and by 11:30, the procedure was all over, and it just kept getting better and better. And within 6 weeks, I was back digging post holes and doing the other hard work that I'd been doing before the accident. And I'm really pleased. It's really worked out well for me.
This segment brought to you by the Kansas Soybean Commission, the Soybean Checkoff, progress powered by Kansas farmers.
Welcome back to Farm Factor and the Kansas Soybean Update.
This is the Kansas Soybean Update. It's brought to you by the Kansas Soybean Commission. The Soybean Checkoff, progress powered by Kansas farmers. Shane Haynes, President and CEO of the Heartland Tri-State Bank in Elkhart, is joining us. And Shane, you will be on a panel at the upcoming Ag Bankers Conference on a program that will help customers improve their business IQ. So what will you be discussing during this panel session?
My part on the panel will be talking about educating our producers. Primarily, the area that we've taken with the bank is to help them determine their true break-even, the break-even that they need to sell their commodities. We look at a holistic all commodities as well as all input, all debt service, living expenses, and we try to take it from a number that is just a large number of total bushels and total dollars, and we try to drill it down to a price per bushel so they can kind of focus on a particular number to be able to market their grain at least at a break-even or with a specific profit objective.
And so much of this really is to arm the farmers out there with as much information as possible to help them manage their operations?
Exactly. These guys are great at producing. They get the best seed. They get the best chemicals. We felt like the one area where we could help them was in not necessarily the marketing. There are good marketing groups out there to help them. We felt like the piece that was missing was them actually knowing what number they needed, what price they needed to sell their commodity at to be profitable. And so we felt like as their lender, we could step in and provide that piece of information. They could then take that back to their marketing group, their marketing company, and then hopefully achieve a better bottom line.
We know there's no one-size-fits-all approach to marketing, but there are several tips or things to remember to keep your marketing plan strong.
Definitely. Number one is you've got to know your break-even cost. You've got to know what number you need. And then once you have that number, if there's an opportunity, you need to be willing to act on it. You need to be willing to start selling grain. Big thing with us is we set a plan at the beginning of the year. We set a goal, whatever that profit objective or whatever that break-even might be, and we set that goal with the concept of then stick with it. Once the price gets there, don't get greedy, don't start panicking, don't get emotional, stick with the plan, with the goal of trying to take the emotions out of marketing. And I think that is actually what happens too many times. The price starts moving either direction and your emotions get involved, and we try to take the emotions out of it. And then we end up with just try to keep things simple.
Shane Haynes, President and CEO of the Heartland Tri-State Bank in Elkhart, is joining us on the Kansas Soybean Update. It's brought to you by the Kansas Soybean Commission. The Soybean Checkoff, progress powered by Kansas farmers. Learn more at kansassoybeans.org. For Kansas Soybeans, I'm Greg Akagi.
Stay tuned. Coming up, Duane Toews talks with Frank Harper, owner of Harper Farms and Gilmore Creek Ranch.
Sure Crop Fertilizers was started by my father, Don Sherman, and my mother, Shirley Sherman. Family business that started in the 80s. We predominantly focus on plant nutrients and what we can do to give growers better responses with the fertilizer dollars that they do, and what we can do to make those things work better for the grower. We're based out of Seneca, Kansas. We work with growers in their soil analysis to figure out what they need, and then we can put those in a blend that gives them the best results, and so that we can deliver that direct to their farm so that they have those nutrients where they need them, when they need them, and so that they can apply them in a manner that's very efficient to them and works well on their planting systems and what they're doing. Sure Crop Fertilizers has been around for a long time. We always say we're big enough to take care of everything you need, but we're small enough to do it quickly. You can get a hold of us at 1-800-635-4743. Our website is surecropfertilizers.com, and you can always email me at Corey@surecropfertilizers.com, and with any questions you have, and we're glad to answer and work with you.
Welcome to the Western Kansas Wildlife Travel Center, right here in my hometown of Oakley, Kansas. We're the front door of Western Kansas, located on 3 main highways, I-70, US 83, and US 40. And all those roads lead to history, beautiful scenery, and adventure, no matter which direction you go. We now have an IHOP. That brand that you've trusted up and down the road in all your travels is staffed with local folks, real people, just like you and me, and we're waiting on you to join us. So for fun, adventure, fuel up, fuel your body, and let's have some fun.
This segment brought to you by Sure Crop. Liquid crop nutrition delivered right to your farm.
We're back. Now Duane talks with Frank Harper, a Central Kansas farmer and rancher, about his operation.
Duane Toews joining you once again with another segment on my farm. A chance to catch up with Frank Harper, Sedgwick, Kansas, right in the central part of the state, a little northwest of Wichita. Frank, tell us about your operation and what you got going on there.
Well, the operation there is mainly in a grain farming area. We farm corn, soybeans, wheat, some alfalfa. Also there we do some background in growing cattle. Kind of supplements my ranching operation over north of El Dorado. But there at home it's mainly grain and some dry lot cattle.
Talk a little bit about it's an interesting year in that part of the state. You maybe had more moisture than what one would have wanted at any particular time.
Well, it's certainly been an interesting year. It's been a stressful year. You know, about everyone I've talked with, it doesn't take long before everybody says, boy, I'm ready to bury 2019. I think to really put a finger on it's kind of hard. You know, we started the year pretty wet, tough feeding conditions, just a tough, wet spring. Kind of entered summer similarly, but then we hit dry spell right now in early September, so it's kind of the best of, or the worst of both worlds, I guess. Probably the biggest challenge this year is just was getting the crop in, then getting the crop in, and we're kind of in a, I guess, kind of a river and creek valley there at Sedgwick, so we get some flooding. Never recall the Little Ark River getting out, usually about one time every 2 or 3 years, possibly 4 times this year from October of 18 through the spring of 19. Just unbelievable. Tough on the guys in the river area.
Obviously, with that kind of moisture, the expectation was that our fall harvest might be pretty good, but it seems like we had some heat maybe at the wrong time on some of the corn.
You know, that's a really good point. You know, we had you know, the challenging start to the corn crop, got some of our traditionally planted corn in first part of April, you know, and then it just was nothing for about 3 or 4 weeks in there, and then some of that crop was replanted. So what we're dealing with now is some below average or average to below average yields. I think in our area, probably dry land would be ranging in that, you know, mid 70s to maybe 115 to 20. I think where we're at, we're kind of in the middle of dryland corn harvest. We're looking at probably, you know, a 90 plus bushel average, which isn't bad, but it's still tough with the cost of putting the crop out. It's probably below where we need to be. But yeah, as far as the hot, dry weather in July, it did take the top off of it. Had a fantastic looking soybean crop, but the last 2 or 3 weeks have taken the top out of it. It's been pretty discouraging.
So you referenced that you've got a cattle operation as well. Does that help in terms of utilizing some additional forage options in your crop system?
Well, I'm sitting on a lot of alfalfa hay right now, and not much good quality. I think that's what I hear a lot. You probably never have had a tonnage crop like we've had this year in alfalfa. Just, you know, the first 2 cuttings were thrown together, and then the last cutting was pretty decent. But as far as the cattle operation, yeah, it's a great mix for my operation to have both the cattle and the farming. But both have been challenging this year. You know, probably on the cattle side, more winter feeding conditions, whether that's in the backgrounding at home or the feedlots out west where I like to finish cattle. But as far as summer grazing, it's been good. We had good yearling gains this summer. Going into fall in pretty good shape on grasslands. But as far as complementary type forage, yeah, lots of forage, not much value out there though.
So you'd referenced feedlots, retained ownership. Are you feeding a fair part of your own cattle, Frank?
We try to feed most all of our own home-raised cows off of our calves off of our cow herd. Then I also buy both local calves and then calves out of the south. So we kind of try to tap all of it. We're not much good at any of it, but we try to do it all and see which one works. But yeah, the feedlot sector, the commercial feeding sector, has been a part of my operation for a good number of years, and that involves both our yearlings, our cow-calf offspring, as well as purchased cattle just throughout the year for margin cattle type income.
So has that allowed you to capture some of the genetic gains maybe that you've seen, that you've invested in?
You know, I think so. I think it's been good. I think it's taught us a lot about our cattle. You know, I've seen, you know, we're here today at Stalker Day, and it's interesting to hear the improvement is what we've seen as an industry in genetics. We've seen that too in our own herds, but also in the cattle we've purchased traditionally from areas that maybe are maybe characterized as not having the genetics. I think the industry as a whole has just done a better job at producing those genetics, and you know, we've captured some really good premiums this summer, just grid premiums on cattle, whether those are home-raised cattle, native cattle, or some of our, you know, southeast type cattle that traditionally maybe wouldn't be thought of as those carcass type quality cattle. But yes, that's been a big part of just kind of staying in business over the years.
Thanks, Duane. Come back after the break for this week's Kansas Farm Bureau update.
What if U.S. soybean meal were more than a commodity? If seed companies and the soybean checkoff built a better variety? That future is here. The time is now. To meet end-user demands, the soybean checkoff is investing in the compositional quality of soybeans, including meal. A message from the Kansas Soybean Commission, the Soybean Checkoff. Progress powered by Kansas farmers.
Kansas Corn reminds you that E15 fuel is the right choice for every kind of driver. For the car enthusiast, E15 has higher octane. For the thrifty driver, E15 is priced lower than regular unleaded. For the nature lover, E15 provides cleaner air. For the shopper who buys local, E15 has more ethanol from our Kansas corn farms. Choose E15 for a higher octane, lower price, cleaner American fuel. Message from the Kansas Corn Commission. Learn more at kscorn.com.
This segment brought to you by Kansas Farm Bureau, the voice of agriculture. To join today or for more information, go to kfb.org or find us on Facebook and Twitter.
Welcome back to Farm Factor and the Kansas Farm Bureau Update.
My name is Jimmy Jo Jansonius from Phillips County. I am a fifth-generation Kansas cattle rancher, and what prompted me to get involved in Kansas Farm Bureau was just the opportunity to be involved in my community and to have an impact on an industry that I'm so passionate about. So I think, first of all, trade is a hot-button issue from a global and a national perspective, and we're able to see firsthand how that impacts us on the ranch, as well as how it impacts our neighbors and our friends. And so we can bring those stories to town or to the table to share, just to show our own perspective and hear about others, because Kansas and the country as a whole is so incredibly diverse that there's going to be a variety there. And I think having that opportunity to share our story with regards to the impact of trade has been very powerful. On a state level, I believe that healthcare has been a huge issue locally for us. I know I personally work an off-farm job just to have insurance. And if I could have those 40 hours a week back to pour back into the ranch, it would make a tremendous difference in a lot of things, from profitability to productivity across the board for us. And so being able to share those stories, being able to talk about those issues that we're facing with regards to healthcare on a state level, and bringing our own private perspectives from the northwest part of the state has been just excellent, especially this last year as we've done the work on healthcare.
Stay with us. We'll be back after the break with Plain Talk.
Practical, profitable genetics. It's not just a slogan, but our expectation for every Dale Banks bull we market. They won't be a one-trait wonder, but they will offer optimum levels of the most predictable genetics in the industry today. They'll be developed on forage, backed by decades of data, fertility tested, foot scored, and freeze branded. We'll sell 150 yearling and coming 2-year-old bulls in our Practical, Profitable Genetics bull sale on Saturday, November 23rd at the ranch near Eureka, Kansas. For information, call the Perriers at 620-583-4305 or dalebanks.com.
Kansans have a new choice for Medicare supplement insurance plans. With Medicare supplement insurance plans from Kansas Farm Bureau, you have access to 4 levels of coverage, affordable rates, and service from an organization that's served Kansans for more than 100 years. For more information on Kansas Farm Bureau Medicare supplement plans, including rates and to apply, visit kfbhealthplans.com.
Ag Promo Source is a unique group of marketing specialists with one mission: help your ag business grow. Each affiliate has their own area of expertise, and they work together to bring you advice, products, and services. To get started, visit agpromosource.com. Ag Promo Source. Together we grow.
This segment brought to you by Santa Fe Trail Meats in Overbrook. Let us help feed your family.
Welcome back. Now let's see what Kyle and Duane are up to on Plain Talk.
Hi, this is Kyle Bauer with Plain Talk, with the guy who always said, I started with nothing and I still have most of it left, Duane Toews.
You know, it's all about your expectations.
Set the bar low, boy.
As whether or not you're happy.
That's the whole secret to a happy marriage.
I've met goal every year.
That's right. As long as she doesn't expect much, we'll get along just fine.
Well, I've always said I was a work in progress.
Uh-huh.
The progress
Are you progressing,
has been
though?
The progress has been slow.
Very slow.
Slow and steady as she goes. Your fact or fiction question of the day, Kyle Bauer. Australia, more than 3 times the size of Greenland. Fact or fiction?
Oh, actually, I won't look at the wall because we have a map on the wall.
I didn't let you look at the wall.
Okay. You'll even let me look?
I'll let you look.
Why would you let me do that?
Well, I'll let you look.
I'm not going to look. That'd
now
be cheating.
You're confused,
no.
aren't you?
Oh, you said Greenland or Australia was bigger than Greenland?
Australia,
more
than three times
I looked
the size.
recently because the president had made an offer to buy them, and they weren't really happy about buying it. But I was very...
Greenland was a bit offended.
Well, they were.
I don't really know why.
It doesn't hurt to ask. You don't have to. And always name a price, Duane.
Sure.
I mean, is that shirt for sale? Well, no. I give you $500 for it, and it's like...
When would you like it? We're on TV, but I don't want to disrobe now.
Oh, I was amazed when I looked at the map how big Greenland was, and I didn't at that point compare it to Australia. Australia is big, but I'm going to go with Greenland is bigger than Australia. So I can't remember which way you asked the question.
I asked Australia 3 times the size of
Fiction.
Greenland. It's actually true.
It is true. Okay.
It's called the Mercator projection. It portrays Greenland as larger than Australia on maps, but in reality, Australia more than 3.5 times the size.
Well, you
of
get
Greenland.
up there to the top of the world, and when you flatten that all out, okay, that's good to know.
When they made the world square again,
yeah,
it made things bigger than they appear.
Yeah, I mean, you stop and look up at that map, and it's like, yeah, that thing should be like oval on both sides.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So I lost on that one.
Yeah.
Talk about, though, something that is a huge success story. You know, they talk about the greenhouse gases and the footprint of agriculture and how agriculture has contributed so badly to greenhouse gases. But you talk about the dairy industry. Nobody should be picking on those guys.
What about the dairy industry?
Because I will tell you, since 1950, the U.S. dairy industry has reduced its greenhouse gas footprint by 2/3.
Okay,
how can that be?
Since 1950, 2/3.
I mean, that's 60 years. We've got a lot more people to feed since then. So
got a lot more milk produced today than
we
then.
do. Increasing per cow productivity has allowed the U.S. dairy industry to actually shrink its greenhouse gas emissions to historic lows.
Hmm.
All right. Now, here's a big deal. For example, the average U.S. dairy cow produces 23,000 pounds of milk a year.
All right.
All right. And that's, nobody would argue with that. There's certainly a lot of dairies that would go more. But in Mexico, it would take 5 cows, dairy cows in Mexico, to produce that same amount of milk. Now, would those cows in Mexico producing 1/5 as much gas throw off that much difference greenhouse gases in the United States?
There would be some.
There would be a little bit because they would eat a little bit less.
They would eat less,
but
I'm
still,
assuming.
it would not be 1/5.
No.
So, and in India, it takes 20 cows to produce the same amount of milk as 1 cow in the United States. Isn't that something?
I don't hear anybody talking about making India get rid of their cows.
No, exactly right. So, I mean, that is an amazing
issue.
success story. By the way, the entire greenhouse gas emissions in the United States is 1.37% of our greenhouse emissions, and transportation, 79.8%.
Oh, so we should all give up our car.
Thanks for joining us. I'm your host, Jamie Bloom, and I hope you enjoyed today's show. See you next week on Farm Factor.
Closed captioning brought to you by Ag Promo Source. Together we grow. Learn more at agpromosource.com.